It's Trina Fleming, and I am so excited to welcome you to Leadership in Heels, presented by Sherelle Jackson. Now, before we start today, I do have a few housekeeping items I want to take care of. First, I know your phones are probably out, but if for some reason they're not, go ahead and take those out. I want to make sure that you are following Leadership in Heels and Sherelle Jackson on social media. You'll find us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Go ahead and take yourself a selfie. I know some of you already have. Go ahead, take that, post that, let your friends and followers know that you are here at the Pacific Club having lunch with Leadership in Heels, celebrating Women's History Month. Second, make sure to tag us when you do that, okay? Second, there is a card on your table, and it's called a Keep in Touch card, and you'll see a QR code beside that. If you are not receiving Leadership in Heels emails, please scan that code, go ahead and scroll to the bottom of Sherelle's website and join our email list. You are not going to want to miss some of the things we have coming up this year, so make sure that you are on our list. Number 3, with your phone, please make sure to mute it, put it on vibrate, because I do know that once you post your selfies and let people know where you are and what you're doing, they're going to call you to find out why you didn't invite them. So when your phone rings, we don't want to hear it, okay? So put that on vibrate. I also want to mention that the event is being recorded, it's being videotaped, and you will see that posted on YouTube, on our website, and on our upcoming podcast. We are also going to send you a link to the photos that are being taken. So again, make sure that you're on our email list so that you will receive that. At the conclusion of our event, please feel free to stick around and leave a videotape testimonial for Sherelle and for Leadership in Heels. That will be done in the back of the room, all right? So make sure you leave a little time for that. Also, make sure to get your parking validated. That can be done at the front desk before you leave the building. That way you'll get out of the parking lot. This evening, you will receive an email from us, and that email will have a link to a survey. Now, it is very important to us, and I would actually consider it a personal favor, if you would take 5 minutes to provide your feedback. It is very important to us, and we want to know how to improve your Leadership in Heels experience. It will also have in that email a link to our next event, which is in July, and trust me, you're not going to want to miss that. It's on July 13th. It is called Multi-Generational Leadership, the Future Leader's Perspective. All right? You're not going to want to miss that. And for those of you who came late and had trouble finding a seat, I suggest you go and book your seat early. It's never too late. Donna has already bought her ticket, I'm just saying, okay? And of course, if you are interested in sponsoring that event, please reach out to Sherelle. We would love to add you to the Leadership in Heels tribe. So I think that's it for the housekeeping items. In July of 2015, when I had the honor of introducing Sherelle Jackson at the very first Leadership in Heels program, I actually thought it would be the one and only time I would do it. I did it as a favor. Well, it's 8 years later, and I'm still doing it, 26 events later. But in these past 8 years, Sherelle has asked us a number of things. One of the things she has asked us is, what is behind our makeup? She has reminded us that life is not a dress rehearsal, and that we are all actually survivors. She has helped us understand just a little bit better why it is that when he says this, I hear this, and then when I say this, he hears this. She has shared the power of keeping it real. She has asked us, what do we do when our heels get a little bit too high? And she has also reminded us why putting people first matters so much. Sherelle has challenged us to embrace the new normal, break the glass ceiling, be bold, be authentic, be intentional, to amplify our voice, and to be comfortable with being uncomfortable, especially when things are keeping you up at night. Through Leadership in Heels, we have learned that leadership is a juggling act. We have learned the importance of leading with a tribe. And we learned that leadership is not a destination, it is a journey. And so that journey continues today as we explore a common thread in every other Leadership in Heels event: courage. Because there can be no leadership without courage. And Sherelle Jackson is one of the most courageous leaders I know. Sherelle has the courage to remain authentic in an insincere world. She has the courage to be intimate, even when most are superficial. She has the courage not to allow her power to be diminished by those who are insecure. And she has the courage to live the life she chooses, determined to make an impact in the lives of others. Ladies and gentlemen, it makes me proud once again to welcome to the stage international and sought after keynote speaker, leadership coach, founder and CEO of Leadership in Heels, Sherelle Jackson.
Something else, and the simple fact that she remembers the name of every single event that we have done, 26 events, and as she was describing me, she was calling out the name of every event. Phenomenal, because you know I don't have a memory like that. Now we have a little bit of housekeeping, and that is, Dara, I don't have my glasses. You can scratch this from the video. Can I get my glasses, Sugar Bear? Anyway, thank you so much, Trina. I'm a glasses on and off girl. I really can't see well, but I hate glasses, so they're gonna go on and off, on and off. It's kind of like menopause. So have patience and grace. But I just want to say, first and foremost, Happy Women's History Month. If you collaborate with me on LinkedIn or not, but I hope that you will as of today. And I would just like for every woman in this room to stand for a moment. Liga, I need to make sure that you get this photo. Hi, beautiful. And I want you to repeat after me. I am women's history.
I am women's history.
Today, ladies, we are going to create some history. Thank you so much for being here. Now, I would like for the courageous men in the room to please stand. This room is full of fine fellas. Each of you here are a key stakeholder to the success and the progress of women. The reality of it is there is absolutely no way that we could have began to even make some of the small accomplishments that we have made without your support and quite frankly without your yes. So for that, I say thank you. And I would also ask that you repeat after me. I support women's history. I support women's history. Thank you, gentlemen. All right, let's get this party started. So first and foremost, I just want to thank some amazing people in my life. I'm going to do my best to stay on time. So I want to first thank you, Trina, for that beautiful introduction. I love you with my everything. I do not know how I could do life without you. I'm so grateful. But I really want to ask, first of all, this luxury leader, Deirdre Cuffey, who's walking this beautiful, fine women to their table, to stand. I would like to ask Trina Fleming to stand, and I would like to ask Dara Nicholson to stand. And I'm gonna need one more thing out of my purse here, and that's tissue. See, here's something about leaders. You guys think we are courageous, big, bold, and strong. These ladies have seen more tears and snot than anybody I know. But here's the deal, ladies. I want you to know that these are the ladies that are behind the scenes, in the front, on the side, pushing and pulling me to continue to do this for 8 years. Most of the time I want to give up. But because of these ladies, every week, every year, we meet. We meet, if we take maybe a week or two off, 50 times a year. They are with me and they are supporting me. They challenge me and they love me enough to tell me the truth about myself. They are the ones that will tell me, no, you will not be doing that. It sounds good, but it won't be happening. They are the ones who keep me in my place and challenge me to be the best version of myself. And because of them, we continue to bring you such good content and an amazing experience at Leadership in Heels. So I just want to say to Deirdre Cuffey, to Trina Fleming, and to Dara Nicholson, I love you, I appreciate you, and I'm grateful for you. Thank you. All right, I also want to just thank the Pacific Club. It's a beautiful venue, but somebody just told me we might need a bigger place, so holler at your girl if you guys want to ask more people next time. But I would love for us to outgrow the Pacific Club, but it is a beautiful venue, and I'm so grateful that we're able to be here. You know, we took a picture in the front because this was a men's club for white men. Now, I don't know about you, but if you take a look around the room, it looks like I see a whole lot of people that don't represent just white men. They represent everybody. Diversity, inclusion, and belonging is on its way. Thank you, Pacific Club. It's a blessing, right? This is progress. It's progress. These are things that we don't like to talk about, but it's the truth. And so I'm so glad to be here. I also want to acknowledge Jason from Miller Farm Media and his team. Thank you so much. My amazing, and I don't know, where is my, oh, there he is. My amazing cousin, Don Cook Media. Don also has been with me from the very beginning. Don also wipes my tears, and when we are videoing and making content, and I'm saying, I'm so tired, I don't really want to do this. He said, oh, that's okay, do it anyway. I'm gonna give you your advice. And so he continues to give me good advice, so thank you so much. I want to thank Liga, our photographer, who has also been with me. She is amazing. So if you all are ever looking for someone to do some beautiful photography, consider Liga. She's awesome. And Maria Jones, who gave you the beautiful prayer, who is, where is Maria? Maria Elena Hernandez Jones, please stand. I used to yell her name out through the office. Maria Elena Hernandez Jones. Maria Elena Hernandez Jones. Thank you for saying yes to Jesus. Maria joined me many years ago working with me in corporate America as my assistant and office manager, and just has had so many roles. And even though we're no longer in corporate America, what she said to me when I offered her the position, not once, not twice, but 3 times, and she kept saying no, she said that I can only say yes to you when the Lord told me to say yes. And that God told me not to take the job, but to come and be your arm bearer and to pray for you and walk alongside of you. And she has been doing that for me for over 15 years. Thank you. I appreciate it. I also want to thank these amazing gentlemen that I stumbled on at somebody else's event because they were volunteering there. They're from Cal State Dominguez. That's Johnny O'Bragg and Darius Williams. Thank you, gentlemen, for your yes to support me, Johnny and Darius, and to volunteer to support Leadership in Heels. You never know where you can find amazing talent. So Johnny and Darius, do you want to stand so we can give you an applause? They are both college students and took the day off of school to come and support Leadership in Heels, checking in, learning, and grow. And I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for 2 people. One is in here, that's my daddy, but my mama's here. And I just want my beautiful mother to stand. My mother is the floral designer for the centerpieces. I also just want to tell you all, my fine mother is 76 years old. She is fun, right? My mother is such a woman of elegance and class, and it takes great courage to continue to support a woman like me, to mother me and to deal with me. We have a lot of similarities and a lot of differences, and raising children is hard, and she has done an excellent job with myself and my brother, and I love you. Thank you so much. I also want to share that if you sponsored or syndicated a table, the floral arrangement in the center of the table belongs to you. So you can take those flowers home with you. Thank you so much. And that just lets you know how wonderful it is to be a sponsor. I want to thank my sponsors today who have joined me. I want to thank Derek Moore of BMOTW for being a table sponsor. President Michael Thomas of Concordia University. Thank you so much. President and CEO John Forsythe of the Pacific Symphony. Thank you so much for supporting us. Vice President of Adeco Search, my girlfriend, homegirl, and panelist, Michelle Duong of Adeco. I already told you about the illustrious Trina Fleming for sponsoring the table. One of my really close and dearing friends and also a client who could not be here today because she has COVID, but she sponsored a table and her guests are here, and that's Spring Eatman from Max Life. She is the COO of Max Life Agency, and these are her guests. And my wonderful brother for syndicating the table, Demetrius Town. So those are our table sponsors and the syndicating of tables, and you have the flowers for the window. I also want to take the time to thank my annual sponsor and friend. I need to take this out because leaning forward is going to make my back hurt, and I'm 57, so stuff don't work like it used to. Right? It looked good all packed stuff, but baby, woo. But I want to take the time to thank John Mooney. John, would you stand for me, please? John Mooney is first and foremost an amazing friend, colleague, and business partner. John Mooney is a senior or director, or I don't know, he just continues to get promotions, and I still keep calling him as if he didn't get the promotion. He's kind of like 4 levels up. But John is a leader within the UKG family. I met him when he was with Ultimate Software, and he was the relationship manager for me for my HRS software. And what was most compelling about John is the fact that in all of our conversations, he never really tried to sell me anything. He just authentically cared about me and the business needs that I had as a business leader. And through that, I purchased the software and I recommended and taken it to every company that I have joined since I met John at the first company. And he is just an amazing partner. And our annual sponsor, John Mooney, on behalf of him and UKG, I say thank you. UKG has 2 tables. Thank you, UKG, for sponsoring Leadership in Heels, for supporting women in business, and for supporting leadership. And thank you for the work that you're doing in the community. And I do just want to let you guys know, see, you guys did not pay attention. Who wasn't here when Trina made the announcement to sign this phone? It's those latecomers over here on my left. And I'm not going to say anything about it. I'm not going to say. Now, if you've never been to my event, first of all, I need you to raise your hand. I promise you're going to come back. Don't get offended. Just because I'm keeping it real, girl. Don't let the fact that I run a company fool you. I am a nut. But, you know, at UKG, their purpose really is people. And that is one of the things that I fell in love with because we have an alignment in terms of leading with purpose. But they also have a promise of a deep understanding of both people and work that unlocks happier outcomes for all. UKG are strong believers in the power of culture and belonging as the secret to success, and they champion great workplaces and build lifelong partnerships with their customers. And I am an example of that. UKG is truly a human capital and workforce management solution leader. And I am not just saying that because they are my annual sponsor. I'm saying it because it's true. I could just say, you know, it's really nice to work with them. But the reality of it is, it's not only nice to work with them, it's wonderful to have a product that
really works to meet the needs of you, your team members, in your organization. So if you are looking for an HRIS system, I would encourage you to have a conversation with one of the UKG leaders. One of the other UKG individuals here that I happen to know personally, so I have to give a shout out, is my big son, Donovan Isaiah Jackson. And he is also a member of UKG. So what a great place for him to be, because as a family, we are about people. So if you really would like to be a partner and join the Leadership in Hills Tribe as a sponsor, as Trina said, feel free to reach out to me and I'll be happy to chat with you about that. The other thing that I want to do is I want to take the time to acknowledge and thank my amazing gifts they already know. Big son, Donovan; middle son, Dominique; little son, Demetrius. Please stand. So I had my first Leadership in Hills event at the Pacific Club. After that, I couldn't afford it, so I moved on over to the Center Club, which is not here anymore. But I had my first event here, and in my first event, I remember speaking to my children about my gratitude for them to allow me to add one more thing on my plate, which was Leadership in Hills. You know, we've done a 21-year journey with me as a single mom. It's been me and my 3 kids. And in the first event, I cried. I said I wasn't crying this one, but now I probably will. But I just want to say that I don't even know what it's like to be raised by a mom with the level of responsibilities that I've had and the commitments that I choose to make outside of my family, to share your mother with so many other people, community, and a career that takes you away. I remember Nico was talking about it the other day. Dominique is Nico, I call him Nico. He was talking about how we would do breakfast. Breakfast was our big thing because you didn't know if mom was gonna make it home for dinner. So getting up in the morning, he was describing watching Sesame Street at 6 a.m. and then 6 a.m. and then sitting down and having breakfast together, and then them going off to school with all of these rules. And I'm on my way at the office calling in at, what did Nico say? We got out at 2:30. We knew we had till 2:37 to get home if we wanted to get right on rights. And then faxing your homework back in to the office so that I can review it. Showing up on the football field in the middle of practice to check you because I saw C on your report card that week. I mean, I don't even know what it's like to be my child. But what I do know is what it's like to be a mother. And I just want you guys to know that I am so proud of you. I am so grateful for the sacrifices that you guys have made, for you being up late at night, loading the car with boxes and flowers at the 11th hour, loaning me your car because mine is too small, and just always saying yes, even when you are now living your own lives. I'm proud of you, and if my day were to end today, I can say that you truly are my greatest accomplishment. Continue to live your life with courage, and continue to be an excellent example, first for yourself, and then for others. So thank you guys so much. Appreciate it. All right, so let's get this party started. So, I'm supposed to take a selfie, but I don't have a phone. So, I'm not really sure how I'm gonna do that. See, Dara, she's awesome. She's like Vanna. Did you guys ever watch? Dara always makes me happy. All right, so I need everybody to get in the selfie. I'm gonna take a picture, and then we're going to post the picture. Rachel. Where's Rachel? Hi, Rachel. So Rachel Savoda also has been walking alongside of me. She's with Sunday Brunch Agency, and she takes care of my marketing. And she is become a dear friend. And I could text her and say, can we do this at 4 o'clock in the morning or 2 o'clock in the morning? And she always says, sure, no problem. So I said, Rachel, could you do social media with me? Sure, no problem. So we're gonna take a selfie. And Rachel, thank you so much for supporting me. All right, so here we go. Everybody, look excited. Why are you guys so quiet? Thank you. All right, so now we're on with the program. Let's see how I'm doing with time. All right, so I'm good. All right, so today's program is about courageous leaders, courageous women, going where leaders are afraid to go. And I just want to give you a general overview of my interpretation of courage. Just a real brief synopsis of what it's like to live a life of fear and execute courage anyway. Because that's been my life. I mean, I'm scared right now. I'm always scared. I actually live a life being comfortable, being uncomfortable. That is the life that I live. I am consistently challenging myself to go above and beyond that which I feel. And I think that oftentimes when we think about courage, we think about executing in courage when we're no longer afraid. But the bottom line is, I believe every single leader lives with fear. I was speaking to a diversity and inclusion group the other day, and I was telling the panelists this morning, and there was some very high-profile leaders. The 7- and 8-figure leaders were in the room, these CEO groups, and we were talking about how to lead with inclusion and belonging. And I asked the question, how many of you are afraid? And no one in the room but 2 people raised their hands, 60 CEOs. They were predominantly Caucasian men, about an 85-90% male ratio. And then I said to the men, how many of you know whether you should call me Black or African American? You don't know because you're scared. So all hands went up in the air. The bottom line is this. Everybody has fear. So the fact that you think you do not have fear, come on, let's keep it real here. We're all living in fear. So now we really want to talk to you today about how do we navigate past that fear? How do we talk ourselves out of moving in a state of paralysis and behaving in a way that's not aligned with our end game? How do we activate the tools that we are conscious of so that we can perform and experience our life at the highest level? Because fear is crippling. It paralyzes you. It causes you to behave in an emotionally immature way. It forces you to say things that you do not mean, to show up in a way that you did not intend. Or more importantly, it can stop you from moving toward your destiny. Fear can keep you stuck. You cannot move or ask for that promotion that you deserve, move from corporate America to entrepreneurship, say yes to the marriage, or possibly no to it. The bottom line is fear sits with us all. And we know now in 2023 that it is running rampant throughout our world. Specifically in the United States, in our nation. We were talking in our home about mental illness, mental health, and the fact that there are so many individuals suffering from mental health. Mental health, in many instances, and I'm not saying anything about individuals who have mental and medical issues around mental health. It is real, and it is something that we need to be sensitive to. But I was reading a statistic that approximately 98% of the medications that are prescribed unrelated to genetic matters are self-imposed. We have things like high blood pressure and diabetes, stress, headaches, anxiety. All of these things are happening to us. And I believe a lot of it has to do with the fact that we're afraid. We are stressed out and scared. We're scared of losing in a game that we didn't even know we signed up to play. Social media has our young adults afraid. They're looking to compete with what they see on social media. In the workplace, we're performing in a way that we want to excel, we want to be recognized. And so we're afraid that if we do not meet the expectations of others, that we may let people down. Sometimes fear grips us in a way that we are not even able to be honest, because we actually believe we have the power to take responsibility for somebody else's feelings. In other words, we don't really want to say what we mean or what we think because we're afraid of how somebody might receive it. And not only that, we also operate with the imposter syndrome. We show up and behave in a way that we believe that we have to in order to fit in, all as a result of fear. We're not even willing to tell the people that we love the truth when it can help them to become a better person because we are afraid. Today, we want to have an authentic conversation with you about some experiences that these amazing women have gone through and how they have activated fear, activated courage in spite of the fear. Some of the ladies have gone through being courageous in the workplace, in male-dominated industries, that has taken them to a whole nother level. They have activated courage even when people told them that they weren't going to make it. Some of these ladies have activated courage through loss of loved ones, illness, continual change in their life. And many people are gripped by change. We like to keep things the same, the status quo. Change is fearful. And then you have individuals who ignite courage in the midst of fear on behalf of others. They're willing to sacrifice themselves, even when they're afraid, on behalf of others. And that is what most of you do as leaders. You get up every day and you make a daily sacrifice. So what I want to do this morning is I want to introduce you to some courageous women who are going to walk you through how they have navigated through fear and ignited courage. And our goal this afternoon is that you would sit with some of the things that are gripping you, and that you would gain tools, knowledge, motivation, inspiration to ignite the courage this afternoon to push past that fear and go for exactly what you deserve. Fear is stopping you from accomplishing your goals and your objectives, but more importantly, from living out your purpose and reaching your destiny. Fear is prohibiting you from experiencing your life at the highest level. There are individuals that want to be married, but their hearts are broken, and so they no longer say yes. Individuals that want to move from corporate America to entrepreneurship, but they're afraid that they won't be good enough, and therefore they may not make the money they need to make. Individuals that want to walk away from certain circumstances, but it's a habit. Individuals that want to actually tell somebody something that they've done that hurt them, but they're afraid of the conversation. Fear sits at every level of our life. And what I would like for you to do with these wonderful notebooks that were sponsored by UKG is I'd like for you to privately, as I introduce these individuals, write down one thing that you know that has you afraid. One thing that if you could activate the courage to move past, you want to conquer. And then I want you to sit through this session, actively listening to accomplish and gain the skills and tools you need to navigate forward. Would you be willing to do that? All right, great. Take your notebooks out. Don't say yes. Some people say yes, but then they don't really do it. Take your notebooks out. I want you to take a moment, and I would like for you to write those things down. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to start introducing our guests. Please today, actively listen and be willing to participate. We're going to have a conversation this afternoon about courage. And we want you to be involved. If there's something that's said or a question that you'd like to ask in the midst of the conversation, feel free to raise your hand. We're all at home here. The first person that I'd like to bring up to the stage is an amazing woman. Her name is Dee Katz. Dee is the managing partner of Walsworth Law Firm. Dee is also the managing partner of a predominantly female law firm. I'm not going to steal her thunder. I'm going to let her tell you a little about herself. She's also an amazing woman who I actually wanted to work for. Even interviewed with her to be her COO at one time in my career. And I was so impressed by her courage, the fact that she is leading in this male-dominated industry, and we have so much in common. Me leading a CPA firm at the time, her leading a law firm, and understanding that at that time, there was less than 2% women at the time. But she did it anyway. And she'll tell you a little bit about her story, but as a managing partner in one of the most male-dominated fields there is, she climbs her way to the top of the legal profession and has always lived in fear. And she's figured out how to leverage her vulnerability to work in her favor. D is excellent at leading in fear, being comfortable, being uncomfortable. This is DCAS. The next person that I would like to introduce to you is someone who I admire, appreciate, and love very much. We started our relationship professionally, and she has become my friend. I think a lot of my friends are like that. But she has become my friend. She is one of a few that has always said yes to me. And I'm so grateful to you and our friendship, because to say yes is sacrificial. Because I also know that she has had to live through so much change in her life. It has been impacted by more than we could cover this afternoon. But the one thing Michelle fears the most is change. Yet her entire life has been about change. She has had to face ongoing change both in her personal and professional life, and has made an intentional decision to face her fear and have the courage to move forward in spite of what she fears the most. Her and I have walked through a lot together, and I don't know how much we'll be able to get into. But this is a 3-time cancer survivor. This is a woman who has led organizations, bought and sold her organization, was married to an amazing man that I would call my boyfriend, who is no longer with us, who passed away, was willing to take a leap of faith and then meet another amazing man and say yes to Tom, who has amazing children that she has gone through a number of changes with, and continues to lead this organization, ADECO, as their vice president of search. I'd like to introduce you to Michelle Vaughn. And last, but certainly not least, is a woman that I will continue to get to know personally. Today is our first day of personal fellowship, but someone who we recognize, watched each other from afar. And that is Miss Letitia Clark. Letitia Clark is the Chief Community Officer for South Orange County Community College District and the Mayor Pro Tem for the City of Tustin. Now, I don't even know how some black lady decides she's gonna be the mayor in Orange County. I don't even know, that's a whole other story. She did a whole talk with Tanya Whiteside about her experience as the mayor. You guys need to hear the story, it's amazing. And as a result of that, in the middle of the talk, I don't know if you know this, Trina texted me and said, I found the last pages. And so I'm so grateful for Letitia's yes. But Letitia is a servant leader, like many of us, who has faced one of her biggest fears when Hurricane Katrina destroyed everything she owned. She was in the midst of the hurricane and lost everything. And you can imagine what that fear felt like. And even in the midst of fear, courage showed up when everyone looked to her to lead, and she made the decision to live a life for others. She led others through that hurricane and navigated individuals who were going through so much loss, as was she. But her goal was to be courageous and sacrifice on behalf of others. So I'd like to introduce you to Letitia Clark. All right, so grab the mics, lady. So we are going to just get started. I'm first going to ask each of the ladies, they're going to just tell you a little bit about themselves. Letitia's shorter too, so we have a conversation. Don't look right now while she try to holler for us. I told Letitia, girl, you don't know what's going to come out my mouth now. You okay? I'm sorry for those of you who are looking for something more sophisticated. But I'll start with you, Dee. If you could just tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll move to Michelle and Letitia, and then we'll start with questions.
Thank you so much, Sherelle. It's such a pleasure to be here. I always like to start off by describing myself first and foremost as a mother and a daughter also. And I am beyond privileged to have both my mother and my daughter here today with me. That you will stand. Yes. They are my inspiration, and really, and my mom looks amazing. She is 80 years old, incredible. My daughter is almost 17 years old, and I do everything for my family. I remember being raised by my mother, who was a Holocaust survivor, and always feeling grateful to be here and not taking anything for granted, and always feeling like I can do anything that I want to do, no matter what. And she gave me that drive. That doesn't mean I didn't have fear. As Sherelle indicated, I live in fear every day. And going to law school, wanting to pursue justice and fairness as a result of things that my family has gone through, really propelled me to become a lawyer, and then to continue to rise through the ranks of this industry, which, you know, I've been a lawyer now for more than 30 years, was not a lot of women at the top. I didn't have role models as women, so I have been with my firm, Walsworth, for 28 years. About 5 years ago, they asked me to step into the managing partner role. I had no experience managing a business, not managing a firm of 120 employees. I was scared to death. But I did it. And I said, you know what? Well, what have I got to lose? That isn't my motto. And one thing that I always try to live by is Nelson Mandela said, you know, there is no losing. There's only winning and learning. And so I honestly repeat that to myself all the time. And it's really been quite a journey, not easy by any stretch of the imagination, raising a daughter, running a business. I still am up against a lot of challenges, but I feel really, really blessed to be able to do what I do and to still be comfortable and uncomfortable at the same time. And always, no matter what, every day I make a choice. I get up in the morning and I make a choice. Am I scared to do this? Yes. Am I going to do it anyways? You betcha.
That's great. And I think it's wonderful to remember that fear sits in everyone, and oftentimes when you see individuals in leadership positions, there is this stigma as if we just have it all together and we're not afraid. I'm still trying to figure out where that came from. I think the higher up you go, the more fear that you have. I'd love for Michelle to give you a little introduction about herself, tell you a little bit about her story.
Thank you, Sherelle. It's an honor to be here to share our journey and our stories to share with everyone here. Sherelle called and she says, I want you to talk about courage. I don't know anybody more courageous than you. And I think that as an individual that has gone through so much change in life, I don't look at myself as being courageous. So, you know, preparing for this event today, this morning, just acknowledging the fear of being vulnerable and sharing my story with everyone is an obstacle to overcome and be courageous. But I faced having to be courageous since the age of 5, coming here as an immigrant from Vietnam, in a town in Texas where my cousins and I were the only Asians, and just growing up, being a single mom, going to law school. I'll touch a little bit about losing my late husband to pancreatic cancer, and I've been in corporate America, left corporate America, started my own businesses, been an entrepreneur, sold them, and then going back to corporate America. I've battled cancer 3 times. The amount of grief and loss is astronomical. It's just, I can't even go down that route. So, but at the core of it all, in order to be courageous, I have really acknowledged that you have to embrace change. And I really want to take this opportunity today to share with you all how I've been able to implement change to be courageous.
Thank you so much. And Letitia?
Can we give it up one more time for Sherelle? I feel like I'm at a TED Talk. It is just nugget after nugget, and we haven't even started the panel, so thank you for all of that so far. It's an honor to be with you all this afternoon. As Sherelle mentioned, there's a few defining moments in my life, but definitely going through Hurricane Katrina is one of those moments. And at the time, I didn't know why I stayed there. As a California girl, I grew up here in Orange County. I didn't know much about hurricanes. I knew a lot about earthquakes, but I didn't know how devastating a hurricane could be. And I was working for the city of New Orleans at the time. I decided to move from Orange County to New Orleans to attend at HBCU, Xavier University of Louisiana. And when I graduated, I started working for the city, and I was a peon. I got donuts and coffee for the city. It didn't have much responsibility until one Saturday morning, my boss at the time said, "Get your butt down here to City Hall, there's something happening." And so I went, and everyone was kind of going crazy, and there was no plan for what was approaching the city to do the first mandatory evacuation in the city's history. So, as a political science, public administration recent grad, I thought maybe this is an opportunity for me to learn something, not knowing that I would, in the midst of that, lose my car and all my belongings and everything that I, had owned at 22 years old. But what I didn't know is that God was setting me up to prepare me to lead in a difficult time in the future. And I got that bug to learn how important city government was, but how important leadership was when it counted and when it mattered. And it set the stage for me really for the rest of my life. So fast forward, a decade forward, I moved back to California. I decided I want to serve in my local city that I grew up in. And I run for city council for the first time in 2016 as a single mom at the time, as a black woman, as a Democrat. People are like, there's no way you can do this. Orange County, don't even try. But I came in second out of 4 candidates. And then when I ran for re-election, I came in first out of 9 candidates. So I beat all the odds, and most of it is because I was being authentic about my story, transparent about why I wanted to serve. And in 2020, I had the opportunity to serve as mayor in the height of COVID, the aftermath of George Floyd. There's so much going on and expected of me as a leader, but I hearkened back to that time during Katrina and remembered why I was there. And just, kind of cemented with me is that I'm here for a reason. And everything that I lost in the past has set me up to be giving to others right now. And so I put my all into being the best mayor I could be that year. And so I'm still on the city council through next year. And all that I have gone through has just taught me how to be a leader in change and be courageous, because sometimes we need someone to be brave when others are really struggling. And so I'm glad we're going to be able to talk about that today. So thank you for letting me share.
That's awesome, and you guys have already gotten plenty of nuggets. Like, you can walk away right now and just be like, okay, I know to get comfortable being uncomfortable, embrace change, and know that the things that you're going through sometimes is not about you, but it's about others, because fear takes sacrifice. And sacrifice really is about setting aside your emotions and concerns and facing whatever is in front of you anyway. So I want to talk to you ladies a little bit about some of your biggest fears and what they have done for you and to you. I know, Michelle, we talked about some of your biggest fears of change and how it built that muscle of resilience and some of the personal things that you've gone through. What does fear look like to you? Can you describe that for us?
Well, fear for me is really the unknown. What's the outcome on the other side? And with all the change that I've encountered in my life, professionally and personally, at the end of the day, you have to trust yourself. And really, when I am faced with a challenge in life, for example, most recently, I have a whole table here of my team. They know this. Our boss left, and it was a pretty big role, overseeing the entire United States. And I was asked to step into the role. Well, I've been in leadership roles, and I don't want the stress. 3-time cancer survivor. You ask yourself, like, do you want to put yourself in this situation again? But I was asked to move into a role that would affect so many different lives. And I said, well, my biggest fear is letting other people down. What is their perception of me? What are they going to think? I'm moving in, my boss was male, he was 6'4", he's overpowering. Here I'm 5'4" on a good day. What are they really going to be able to, am I going to be able to lead them? So my fear was that change. And every time that I'm posed with a change, I'm a very visual person, so I have to write out what are some of the steps to overcome that fear. And I think that's always been key for me, personally or professionally. Have a roadmap so that you can overcome that fear and you can go through that change and embrace it. And that's what I feel courage is a muscle. You gotta work on it and have a roadmap how you're going to surpass that situation.
I love that. And what I heard you say also is that what happens with the fear is that we create the scenario in our mind, and oftentimes that's where the fear comes from. Something happens within us that ignites fear. And then once fear enters into our space, it propels into our thoughts. And before you know it, you have drawn out the scenario, entered into a conclusion, and reacted to the result. And nothing even happened. Right? But that is a result of living in fear. And so the tool that Michelle is giving is that when you feel fear crippling your body, write down not only what you're feeling, but what's actually taking place versus where you've allowed your mind to take you.
Correct. There's a lot of emotions behind it. So if you really break down the factual piece of it and how you're going to overcome and get through that challenge and be courageous, it minimizes things when you can visibly see how you're going to get from A to B.
Exactly. That's excellent. I'd love to find out from you, Letitia, what was the point of decision that made you take the courage to go forward and make the decision that most people wouldn't have made?
So I think good counsel is very important. The people who we allow in our spheres of influence. Additionally, I'm a woman of faith, so I always go to God. But it's very important to surround yourself around people who are going to not impose their fears upon you. I often would talk, especially when thinking about running for office, I asked tons of people for advice, and a lot of people said, no, don't do that. That sounds horrible and scary to even enter the field of politics. But then I started talking to people who were very encouraging, and they said, yeah, sure, why not? Go for it. And these are the tools that you need. And so I found that having very sound counsel helped me to push through some of my own doubts and fears. But honestly, going to God and Him already telling me, it's already done. You just have to walk in this journey and walk the purpose. It's going to be scary, but it's already destined for you. So if you have that mindset that I can already see myself on the dais, I can already see myself leading because it's already purposed for you, it's so much easier to push past some of those personal doubts. And in addition to God, just ensuring that you have people around you that are going to encourage you and uplift you. And if you don't have that circle right now, change circles, because you will continue not to reach your goals and your highest potential if you could have people in your life that, and usually they have good intent, but they are putting their own fears on you, and it's going to stop you from achieving greatness every time.
You know, I'd love to explore that with you all, because I do believe in, and anyone who's attended Leadership in Hills knows that I believe that leadership needs a tribe. And we talked about it, even Trina honed in on one of our events. And having the tribe of individuals around you that pour into your spirit, that lift you up and don't tear you down, and that encourage you when you are afraid, is very important. But I think the critical thing about your tribe is that you give them permission to tell you the truth about yourself. There are so many people that are gripped with fear and don't want to grow. They don't want to learn. They don't want to hear about the things that they maybe can shift in order to execute in a more courageous realm. But it is important, if you want to live your life at the highest level, if you want to reach your destiny, whether you are a believer or not, everybody has their own faith, but the bottom line is we need people, and we cannot be our own counsel. So I think that is such great advice. I mean, I don't know, what about you, Michelle or Dee, when I think about just your tribe and how you're able to navigate through. I know when we met on conversation around fear. We were talking about our jobs, and I think we became confidants in that moment.
Absolutely, and I know at the time we met, my firm was undergoing a lot of change. And a complete restructuring, if you will, and that was why we were looking for someone like Sherelle to help us. And that was also the same time that I was asked to step into the role of managing partner. And I think with regard to fear itself, creating a team, for me at least, that I felt I could be honest with, that would be honest with me, is absolutely critical. And it was not immediate, and there were a lot of growing pains. But I want to stick to my guns always about the people who I work with. And it's been a mantra of mine. You know, as a law firm, it's a business, okay? And for many, many years, a lot of lawyers who bring in all the work, they are the most successful. But they aren't always the nicest people, I'm gonna say it, okay? And for so many years, I was told, when I started in Los Angeles, when I moved down here, they said, you're too nice to be a litigator. And they found out I did litigation. And I looked at them and I'm like, why can't you be a nice person and really, really good at litigation? I didn't understand that. And so when I stepped into this role, I thought, I want to be part of an organization with people who think like me, that you can actually be a caring individual. And if people's values didn't align with that, I didn't care how much money they could bring into the firm. I found a way to show them another way. Exactly.
Go on and say it, girl. Don't be scared.
And at first, was I scared to do that? Not only me, but the rest of my steering committee, well, wait a second, how can we do that? And I was like, it just has to be. We spend so much of our lives working. Why would we want to do it in a place where we're miserable or there's so much stress? There's a better way, and I knew there had to be a better way in my industry. And I've tried my best to surround my people with people who feel the same way.
No, I think it's wonderful, and what I hear you talking about is the fear of letting go. Sometimes, you know, I think we've talked about having relationships, and sometimes you know someone for a long time, you'll say, that's my best friend, because you've known them for a long time. But actually, they don't really know anything about you. You just have known them for a long time. I think it's very important that we evaluate our circle, evaluate the places that we go and the individuals that we share our life with, the stories that we tell, and what we allow to enter into our spirit. And it is important that we safeguard ourselves and our heart and our mind so that you can continue to live in your life with a level of kindness. Kindness is constantly challenged. When you are kind in a leadership, somehow people think that it's a contradiction. It's as if being a leader and the more power you have means you're not supposed to be kind. So you will be challenged, would you say?
Absolutely. I mean, I think definitely, especially in my firm, we are certified as a women's business enterprise, and we have a lot of moms. We have, a lot of women at the firm, and it amazes me how after they have children, they're so scared that they're not going to be able to keep up with their workload. They're not going to be able to do what they could do before, and they're not going to continue to rise in the ranks of the firm. And I just look at them, I'm like, there has to be a place for women in all industries where we can still be mothers, we can have families, and we are given space to excel in our business.
But I wonder if sometimes our fear is not only imposed upon us by the rules of the world. I mean, we know we're at the Pacific Club. Things change. But also, how much of our fear has to do with our self-talk?
A lot of it. I'll interject because I'm in the staffing industry for many years, and that's one of the obstacles and challenges that we face when we're working and servicing a candidate or a client. So clients having the ability to make a decision to hire someone. What if I hire the wrong person and it taints our culture? And on the candidate side, the courage to make that change, letting go. And with how the market is changing right now, it's scary for people to make a change in their job. So how do we help them overcome that fear? They have to be able to be open-minded, let go, and have a level of trust. I think that's at the core of it all. You have to have a level of trust that who you surround yourself with, a recruiter that is the subject matter expert, or the circle of professionals that you can bounce ideas off as you're making the change. But it's just, at the core of it all, there has to be trust.
And you know, the key to that is that first you have to trust yourself,
Mm-hmm.
right? A lot of times we don't trust ourselves. We don't trust our own judgment. And so as a result of that, we don't have the ability to trust others. We believe that somebody has it out for us, or people don't believe in us, or that people can't genuinely be kind to us. But it's the stories that we tell ourselves that impact the intensity of the fear. I would ask you to consider, as you revisit what you wrote in your journal, how much of your fear is related to your self-talk. When you find yourself in a space where you have a choice to exercise courage, what do you tell yourself? If we have a hand, and then we're going to go to Letitia. Yes.
So, big question, because like you, I don't think leadership and kindness have to be mutually exclusive. The best bosses I've ever had have been the ones that have been understanding and empathetic and courageous, and haven't jumped down your throat when you made a mistake, because all of us make mistakes, right? But what I recently found, though, is that in being vulnerable and in being understanding and not being the micromanager, I've also been blindsided by a couple of issues that then I end up beating myself on. It's like, ugh, I should have stayed on top of that. I really should have looked at that. I really should have, so almost like I was bit by my own trust. So has that happened to you? How have you overcome it? And how have you overcome it? And what changes did that make to your leadership style in the face of that? I guess that's like 3 or 4 questions.
I was going to comment just kind of about the way we view the world, the way we view other people has a lot, and our self-talk has a lot to do with our relationships with others. And in politics, we were talking earlier about how I like to say it's hard to hate up close. I often get people that say really mean things on social media, or even sometimes, during public comment. But when I challenge some of those residents to meet for coffee or meet at the park about an issue that we disagree on, we almost always become friends after, or at least we agree to respect each other's differences. And so it takes a little bit for us to push ourselves out of our comfort zone to really get to know people, which is hard in today's age, right? There are so many conveniences to just learn quick tidbits about people and not really get to know them. But when you really
think you know them.
But think you know
and tell
them.
a story about them too.
Right. But really get to know people, and you'll find that get a lot of good about them, and you'll start to look at the world differently. Most people are good. Most people have best intentions and good intentions, and when you see other people like that, you'll start to be easier on yourself, and you'll feel like you have good intentions and can be more trusting of yourself as you will with other people. But it takes time, and it pushes yourself to really get to know people. I mean, how many people walked into this room today and didn't know anyone and wasn't comfortable, but pushed yourself to kind of meet someone new and not just go with the table that you were familiar with? How many people did that? Maybe not a lot. So we have to consistently do that. And once you start to know people and find that in our core, most of us have good intentions and want good for each other, you'll be easier on yourself, and it's easier to take leaps of faith because you'll be kinder to yourself with those self-thoughts. So.
Something else I would add in response to your question is that I've had to learn not to take things personally. And was very difficult for me because I think I probably grew up as a sensitive child that took a lot personally. But over the past 5 to 10 years, especially since I've stepped into a leadership role and through a lot of therapy, the proponent is that when people are going to do what they're going to do, you cannot control everything in your life. It will not turn out the way that you want to all the time. You have to, it's not that you're tempering expectations, it's just the way it is, and you have to then not take it personally and also believe that something better is going to come out of it. We've had people leave the firm and take a lot of business, and at the time it seemed catastrophic. But with the attitude that, you know what, we are better off for it, and we've rebuilt, and I can truly say it was for the best. That's why when I have associates who come and if there's turnover, they go to another firm, I always sit down with them and say, I don't ever want you to turn down another opportunity that you want. I only want people who want to be here. And I'm happy and I'm excited for you for this next step in your journey. And I'll tell you what, you develop that kind of relationship, they come back sometimes too. So I guess, don't beat yourself up about it. Continue to be who you are. And if you want to be vulnerable, be vulnerable. It will bring back more good in the long run.
And I can say to you, since I've been both a good boss and a bad boss, that it's always better to be good. It's always better to allow people the space to fall short and to fail. And it really is about us just remembering that this is about judgment. There are times in leadership where you do need to have a closer eye on things that are going on in the organization. And then there are times where you can give others a latitude. But ultimately, it's about trust. And I think the point that was made is that we set ourselves up as if failure means that we're not good enough. And failure doesn't have anything to do with how valuable you are. Everybody is valuable. And the fact that we missed something or we were blindsided does not impact how effective we are as a leader. It just means that we're a human being. Now, don't miss too many things now, you might have a problem. But what I am saying is that weigh out the circumstances. And the self-talk, going back to what you mentioned, is so important. It's critical that you evaluate what you tell yourself. Everybody knows that I make a conscious decision about the day that I'm going to have every single day. I make a conscious decision. I wake up in the morning, I pray with my prayer partner, I pray, I listen to the Bible, read my Bible, listen to gospel music, look in the mirror, and it's either going to be, good morning, gorgeous, good morning, badass, good morning, beautiful, have a nice day, okay. But the bottom line is, I tell myself the day that I'm going to have, and then I safeguard that. I don't safeguard my heart, but I safeguard the day that I'm going to have. And I think that it's important that you know how much power you have over your fear and your courage. That your voice matters. And I'd love to know, Michelle, from you, when I think about all of the things that you've gone through, I'd love for you to share a little bit about some of the tools that you've used. We know change has just been a magnet in your life, ongoing. But how do you get up and navigate through? What could you tell someone who's written in their book, my fear is this, and it is crippling me, and I want to move past it? What would be some of the things that you could share?
It's interesting you talk about self-talk. I'm not doing a Netflix plug here, but I watched the documentary Full Swing on golf, or any of you golfers in here, and episode 4 was around self-talk. The gentleman, his name is Josh Duman, I think, and he's ranked 70 in the world. And every reporter would ask him, so why are you ranked 70? He goes, well, someone else has to be 70. And then I thought to myself, but they said, why are you ranked 70? And then a reporter told him, why don't you ever think that you'll be top 10? And he changed his mindset and he won his first golf tournament. Oh no, he qualified for the US Open, which is very hard if any golfers know here. And he came in 10th place. And that was an amazing story because he was self-sabotaging himself through that self-talk. So it's really important that you have those talks with yourself each day, and really instill that it is possible. I read yesterday that time flies. That's the bad news. The good news is you're the pilot. So if you think about that, you have the ability to influence the outcome each and every day. It may be small, it might be big. With all the changes in my life, to me, I didn't view it as, oh my gosh, the world's crumbling down on me. Someone from the outside, my friends are panicking, like, oh my gosh, how Michelle's gonna get through this? She's dealing with cancer, she's a single mom, she's like all this stuff. But I always look at it as, hey, it's not gonna be that big of a problem. What can I control from this situation? And it sounds so practical, but journaling, writing it down, and really being able to, when you start writing it down, you see it's not as big of a problem. But when you just like let it manifest in your head, just like when I have team members that come to me, everything's alarming because everything's emotional, everything's attached to it. Oh my God, I got this fire you got to put out for me. But then I always pose questions to them and I have them take out the emotional aspect of the situation, and all of a sudden they have the solution to overcome that fear or that problem they're facing. But when they come to you, it's from an emotional place. So my tactic has always been try to take the emotional piece out of it, understand what do I have control over this situation to overcome this fear.
I know we have a lot of young people, or some young people here, and I'd love for us to explore that a little bit because we're in a time, Dominique and I and Demetrius were talking the other day about just there being such a heightened sense of emotion in the decisioning and how people interact. And not only that, but as leaders, there's a high level of sensitivity about what you can or cannot say. I mean, for those of us who are post 50, we always say, I remember when nobody really even cared how I felt. So the fact now that we've had to convert our leadership into, well, how does everybody feel? And if you don't respond the right way, you might be culture canceled. So you have to be very, very careful about how you interact with individuals. And it's not to say that people don't feel, because we all feel. But I would love for us to explore a conversation around how you navigate through to get to the courageous place in spite of how you feel. You know, for me, what I would say is that, like you, I'm scared often, especially when I'm in uncharted waters. I walked away from a big job and entree into entrepreneurship without it being planned out the way that I like to plan. And as a result of that, there was fear. But what I do know for me is that I had to evaluate what my qualifications were and what my capabilities are. Not so much about, well, what if this doesn't work and what if that doesn't work? So I had to look at the facts. The other thing is I remember there were very few people that I shared with, but Michelle was one of them. And I remember individuals pouring into my spirit, the words that were said. When you think about an act of courage that you have had to take, you talked a little bit about Hurricane Katrina, but an act of courage that you had to take. Can you tell us a little bit about what that looked like for you and how you were able to navigate through that?
Yeah, as you're talking, it brought back a memory, actually, a buried memory from my childhood, where I grew up as a competitive synchronized swimmer, and when I was in high school, my daughter's age, I was not the best synchronized swimmer. I was good, but not the top. But I qualified to try out for the national team. Okay, and fear was an understatement. I mean, at that time, I had to travel somewhere and compete against all these amazing athletes. And my mother took me to a hypnotist. And I'll never forget this, because it was the first time that I remember realizing that your thoughts could influence things. And the hypnotist, it wasn't like this hocus pocus that you see in the movies. It was literally telling me to visualize the outcome that I wanted, and visualize it over and over with a trigger of touching my thumb to my middle finger. And so, spoiler, I didn't make the national team. But I have never forgotten that advice, and through my life, I always try to remember about thoughts become things, try to visualize. And like you, I wake up in the morning and I try to visualize when something very scary is ahead of me. I visualize what outcome I would like to see, and I imagine that I am already having that outcome, okay, before I actually go into the event or my day.
I love that. I love the fact that we do have to define the outcome that we want and then live it out accordingly. I mean, we have to make those decisions that I want to have a great day. I want to accomplish that goal. I want to sustain. I want to have a great relationship with my children. We have to say it and then start to execute.
I wanted to share with our organization, we're 100% remote. So how do you stay connected? And with the different generation gap, my team consists of from 25 years old to 65 years old. So how do you get to the audience in an effective way? And we talk about visualization. We implement on Fridays. Some of the leaders here at the table understand, understanding your why. And we keep hearing that buzz going on right now. People have so much fear, recession, the talk of inflation increasing, mortgage rates going up. Like there's just so much talk and fear. But at the core of it all, if you understand what your why is, it'll motivate and keep you moving in the right direction when you can visualize what you're trying to accomplish. And it could start from the day to the month to the quarter, and then the year goes by and you look back and you look at what you've accomplished. We've had people on my team that really struggle. They were adjusting to this remote setting. How am I going to be successful? I don't have that constant affirmation. And they just had this fear of how am I going to be successful, because now I can't go out and see people the same way I used to. And I can't knock on my boss's office door and sit down and talk to them. But if you could just build in them their own reason and their own why of what they're doing each and every day, they become effective and become honest with themselves to continue to move forward. And you help them, give them the tool to be successful.
That's great. It's so important that we take ownership of the outcome of our life and not allow fear to own our experiences, because with fear, it literally will catapult into how we interact with others, how well we excel, our ability to effectively communicate, how much we enjoy our life, our stress. And so I ask each of you to take a moment to write down, or at least consider, an area of your life where you have at least one thing that might be gripping you as a result of fear. Something that if you had the power to overcome, that you would. Now, my next thing is anybody in here willing to execute courage? And to ask a question or share with us so that we can help you journey through to be able to ignite courage before you leave this room. So we want to convert this to you, because we can talk all day long. But this is about you. This is about what you need. We hide behind, as Trina said, our first event was what's behind the makeup, the brand new you. And it was intentional, because we wanted to create an authentic, intimate, and powerful space where you could actually be yourself and make a choice to walk away with what you need to be a higher performing leader. Because let me be clear, everybody in this room is a leader. It's not about the job titles or whether or not you have individuals reporting to you. It's about your ability to influence. And if you have one person that you influence, then you're a leader. So I'd like to turn it over to the audience to see if you have any questions pertaining to it. You don't have to tell us what you wrote down. But we would love for you to ask a question so that you can get what you need about igniting courage. Yes?
So my question is, in the field that I'm in, sorry, did you want me to go right?
Yes, but I know Derek, she's probably going to run and get a mic because she's offended.
That's another one.
Go ahead. Could you stand though so everybody can hear?
Sure,
Thank you.
My question would be around, and I think you said it beautifully, there's some people who don't want to receive it. So in my role, I do a lot of executive coaching for CEOs and stuff, and I notice that I notice that there's some people who don't want to receive it, but I'm that person that just wants to keep trying to make it better for them, and I find it especially problematic sometimes with women. The inability to make them feel that they can be vulnerable or safe, and that's a big trigger for me. Safety is a huge trigger, so if I don't feel safe, that's where I go nuts. And so I want others, it's such a passion of mine to make sure others feel safe, because I was not safe growing up. And I would be curious from your perspective, when you have situations like that, when you're trying to make a person feel safe and they're not receiving, what do you do? Do you walk away? I mean, what are your experiences when you go through that? And that would, so now you know my trigger. So there, I've shared that.
We need to talk about your trigger, so call me.
Your trigger is definitely. I have another one too. You mentioned about not wanting to fall in love again, but I didn't want to bring that one up again.
You know how that's your girl, because every coach needs a coach. Yeah, you don't have to work that.
I'll tell you, that is mine. So yeah.
That's my guess.
And Michelle's been trying.
Michelle will give you my number. Well, that's your guess, so you probably don't want to answer. Letitia, you want to start?
Well, I'm glad that you brought up something really vulnerable, because I was going to mention earlier that, we can get addicted to feelings. And if we have enough negative feelings in our life, that becomes comfortable. And we won't even want to change that type of feeling that we often feel. So you have to push through that and start, and I can attest for myself, I've become addicted to achieving goals, and what that feels like. Pushing through the fear. If you haven't done that for yourself, when you have a very difficult goal, and then you push through the fear, and then you achieve it, there's not much of a better feeling. It's an amazing feeling. And then getting addicted to that, just doing that over and over again. What I think as a coach you can do for your clients is, encourage them to want to feel that. But the hard work you have to do to get to that point. If anyone's ever played sports, training for something and then you reach your goal, or if you've ever been really sick and you finally get better and you say, oh gosh, this is what it feels to, breathe through my nose and breathe through my lungs. That feels good. But you won't know how good that feels unless you can remember how sick you were, or how hard it was to train for a really tough sport, or, whatever it is. So I just encourage you that if you are allowing fear to stop you, to work to push through it so you can have that feeling on the other side, because there really is no better feeling. It's an amazing feeling, and then you get used to, having that high of achievement over and over again. But you got to push through the hard stuff. So,
The other thing I would say in terms of wanting others to experience life the way that you experienced it is that we have to remember that life is a choice, and people have to choose that. And it's not our responsibility to impose our way, but to introduce the options. And I believe that when the option is so attractive and magnetizing, people tend to lean in on it. But trust has to be built. Most of us have damage from our childhood or some relational experience that has caused us to lose trust and therefore become afraid. And so for those of us who are coaches and leaders and high-performing motivators, and we just want everybody to be happy, the reality of it is everybody is not happy. And the point that was made about getting addicted to the feeling of being miserable is real and true. And so we have to present options and then give individuals the pathway to actually accomplish it. But what I would say is that sometimes we just have to help people get clear on exactly what it is that they want to experience in their life. Not the transactions of their life, but what do they really want to experience? And when you start to ask those questions, then they can navigate through how they're making a decision in alignment with what they want to experience. And that'll start to convert the fear from courage. Now, I'm not going to give you too much because people pay a lot of money for this information. But I'm just saying what I'm saying. That the ability to move from fear to courage first starts with people getting clear on how they want to experience their life. And sometimes we're focusing on the transaction, but we need to bring them back to the experience. Yes. Where's Vanna? Oh.
That's all right.
I like the name Vera better.
Thank you. Okay, so we have in common that we have our friend Michelle. Michelle and I've been going through a lot. And anyway, to make the long story short, I'm a CFO of a large international global company. So I've achieved a lot as a young immigrant coming to the country by myself and all this stuff. I have two beautiful daughters. The youngest, when I went through a very nasty divorce, and that's when Michelle and I really connected because she is so good in supporting. She's such a giver, unbelievable. Anyway, my youngest daughter was 12 years old. I had a very, very nasty divorce. My ex-husband, although he asked for the divorce, he became very bitter. He did a lot of things. My daughter, I think her way of surviving, she oppressed a lot of the memories, never talked about it. And I thought, I continue my life. she's fine, and now she's 30 years old. She has 2 young children. She's a mother herself. A lot of that stuff coming back to her, and I find myself in a very difficult position because in a way I feel she's blaming me for not being there. I was working long hours. Just like you were talking about, Cheryl, it really hit me hard when you said single mom, working, all the stuff, the breakfast is the only time we see them, same journey. But now she's a mom. It feels to me, no matter how successful I have been, I failed her as a mom. And sorry.
So let's pause right there. But first and foremost, you didn't do that. I'm sure that you were an excellent mom. We're just not perfect. But what I will say is that because we all experience some level of hurt, the first thing that we have to do as parents is we have to acknowledge the part that we play in the pain from our children. And so I openly apologize to my children. Not that we've had a conversation about anything ever that they felt like I didn't do, but the bottom line is I know that I could have been better. And so in that, I own where I can see I could have been better. And it's freeing because I also don't have any guilt as a mother. You know, you do the best that you can in the life that we live. And then you seek the feedback from others for that which you do not know how to do, as opposed to operating like some Lone Ranger because we don't trust anybody. And so I would just say that you take your daughter by her hand and that you apologize for the areas where you may have failed her and for not maybe being there or being what she may have needed, and close that gap. And once you close the gap in sincerity, healing starts. Because I always say, it's not how you start, it's how you end up. And so I would really encourage you to have that conversation. Does anybody else have any feedback to that?
Yeah, I was gonna just say, I divorced when my daughter was 5, and I carried a lot of guilt for many years. And, and I learned that, first of all, you did the best you could, the absolute best you could, and your daughter will see that, okay? And that's why I've had to tell myself over and over again that even though sometimes I'm like, gosh, her life could have been so much easier if she didn't have to go between homes or whatnot, no one would want to bring pain on your child, but you did the best you could, okay? And you love her, okay? And she will see that, and if you tell her that, okay? And I agree with what Cheryl says too. And she has two young children now. Especially being a mom myself, things you go through with your own parents, your own child, that you realize a lot as your mother. And I realize how amazing my mother has always been, being a mom myself.
And I would say one of the things to help you ignite courage is forgiveness. And I think a lot of times we're afraid to the point that you made about maybe not wanting to step into something new, not wanting to enter into a conversation or take a new job or leave a job or enter into a new relationship or leave a relationship is because there's a lack of trust. But, we have to have forgiveness. And once we forgive ourselves and then we begin to forgive others, relationships mend and courage shows up. Fear is gripping. It is paralyzing. It will prohibit us from experiencing our life at the fullest level. And so I think the thing that you have to do first and foremost is forgive yourself. And then once you forgive yourself, then somebody else can begin to forgive you. And then walk into the newness of what you're expecting versus continuing to look in the rearview mirror. One of the things that I wanted to touch on is there are individuals who are struggling in your careers. I want to know if there is individuals who are in corporate, maybe you might not want to say because you might be sitting next to your boss, but that are in a role, that would like to go into a new role, that are leading in new industries. And there's hi, little sister. Stand up so I can see my little baby in the oven. Oh, I haven't seen her in a while.
First, thank you all. Thank you, Sherelle, for providing your perspective. This is just such a beautiful space to be in, to be able to share my story and give your feedback. So, my name is Amber. I am an investment professional for a large life insurance company responsible for identifying direct real estate investments on behalf of that company. So I'm a subject matter expert. And so and I've been doing it for this is my 9th year. But I want to move away from being a subject matter expert and applying my skill set to something larger, bigger, and potentially more impactful. Moving out of kind of a direct contributor role to more of a leadership responsibility role. But I'm not sure how to get to what that actually looks like. I'm good at visualizing kind of how I got to this point, and I've achieved it, and I'm really good at it, but I'm like, okay, well, what's next? How do I start to incorporate exact steps to figure out how to get to visualizing what could be next for me, applying and growing the skills that I have now to something larger, to have greater impact with the skills that I have.
Michelle, anybody on my team want to answer that? We have this discussion very, very often with people wanting to change career paths. At the core of it all, you need to understand what is fulfilling for you. Don't get tied into just the job title or the actual transactional task that you do each day. Take a look at what you currently do and really dissect some of the skill sets, the emotional intelligence piece of it that you can apply to a different area. That's what we typically will share with individuals who are looking to change industries or change jobs, or even just in general making that move so that you're going to be most effective and have the courage to move into the next role, because at the core of it all, you have to be fulfilled. So what are some of the things that you're currently experiencing in your current role that you want to take away and still see replicated in that next role, and what are some new things that you're looking to explore?
And I would just say, good on you for wanting something different, wanting something more, wanting to expand. That's huge. For me, I found that talking with, identifying mentors of mine throughout my life, being able to sit down and just roundtable ideas. And I also think working with coaches can be extremely effective. Because if you don't know the exact type of position, but you know what skills you have, you know what makes you feel good, a coach can really help you with that too.
And I think you've taken the first step in just vocally saying what you want to do, right? It's part of the manifestation part that we were talking about today. But in addition to a mentor, I always thought it was important to find somewhat of a sponsor, someone who is going to keep you top of mind when opportunities come about. And you don't always have to say, well, I'm looking for a job, or, I want to apply for this. Just ask people of influence to think of me. When an opportunity comes about, think of me. And even if it's not a paid position, if it's an opportunity to volunteer in a leadership role, or an opportunity to, be on a board, or, demonstrate and kind of execute those skills that you already have, but maybe expand some and maybe not even for pay right away to build your resume. Take those opportunities, but tell people that are in positions of influence that you may have met along the way, hey, keep me top of mind when, an opportunity comes up. I want to be someone in a position of leadership, and I want to get more experience. So I think that's a good way to just ask to be, your name to be on the table without having to officially apply or ask for, a job.
Sure. Do you mind if I just add one thing?
Yes,
really
absolutely.
Just one thing also too, is if you find people in a role that you enjoy yourself, or you see like a couple of other people in a role that you might be interested in, you should talk to those people and see how they
got there. And people are willing to help. So if you see another role that might be different than what you do, pick their brain. What did you learn? And if you're lacking some of the skill, then you should try to go out there and get it. They're going to notice it. And other people will notice that you're trying to do different things. And I can pretty much guarantee you, in a lot of cases, they admire that, and you should get that opportunity, because it's hard to change. And that's what I've done. I've always emulated, okay, that's what I want to be, I'm going to watch.
Or that's what I want to experience. Or that's how I want to experience my life.
Yeah, that's right.
and align your choices with that versus the job title, and the money will come. Yes.
Sherelle, I work with, I'm a mentor at Cal State Fullerton, among other things. And I work in the college of business. I'm a volunteer, I don't get paid. But my amazing students that I'm blessed to be a mentor for, we're talking MBA students and undergrads. Our students, I would say 99% of them have the imposter syndrome. Nobody believes that they belong at a university. They walk around most of the time saying, I'm really here at a university, where do I go next? But one of the things, and I'm not a coach, I'm not in anything, I'm a mom of 4 grown men, 5 if you include my husband, and I often do. A lot of you know him, so I can say that. But I tell my kids, and I have 41,000 kids, I love them all, but I say to them, look, there are so many people around you with amazing jobs and amazing job titles, past or present, who are here for you. And you see them, and it seems so basic, but it's basically what you're all saying is, I say, email that person, LinkedIn that person, call that person and say, Letitia, I'd love to talk to you for 10 minutes. And most folks are flattered. They're honored that you want 10 minutes so they can talk about themselves. Almost everybody is willing to talk about themselves. And so it is a true blessing to be able to pour into some of my 19-year-olds who would be mortified to call up Pastor Pitts and say, you have expertise. Mayor Letitia, you have expertise. Can I trouble you for 10 minutes? And then, of course, I bug my kids and I say, now get 2 names of other people that you can then say, you know, I was talking to Mayor Clark the other day and she told me to call you. So I truly believe in not just empowering students, because we're all students, right? We're all students of life and lifelong learners, or I ascribe to be one, try. But I just believe that human contact and the ability to share each other's lives, we all have a story, and most people are very willing to share their story and give some of their love and life to especially young folks.
I appreciate you sharing that, especially about the imposter syndrome, because you know, we wish we had hours and hours upon hours, but many people sitting in this room today are suffering from the imposter syndrome. There's a perception about who you are that's not aligned with how you feel about yourself or with the stories that you even tell yourself. And it is very important that you have a great tribe and mentors and sponsors, but most importantly, that you get clear on how you truly want to experience your life. Like you will hear me say that over and over and over again. It is not about the transaction, but how do you really want to experience your life? I want to ask, is there anybody else, based on what you wrote in your book, that you have the courage to ask a question so that you can get what you need before you leave this room? So we'll go here, and then we have to go to my son. Okay, so we'll go here, and my son, and we got to her, and then we'll wrap it up.
I just have to say that I was nervous answering, but I don't want to leave here without having to ask the question. But before I say that, there's one thing that came to mind in the very beginning was, God doesn't give you a spirit of fear and timidity, but of power, love, and self-discipline. So I just started my business about 7 weeks ago, left corporate world. My biggest problem now is asking people for business. And so how do I reach out and not feel salesy, but also I have to provide for my family at the same time?
I can answer that because I started 2 businesses on my own. Going from corporate America and owning your own business is very scary. You control your income each and every day, but you have to look at it as you have that possibility. But I work with a huge team of salespeople, and the most successful salespeople are the ones that are being authentic. You're not there just to sell a product or sell a service, but you're there to provide a solution. And if your mindset is you are going to be a partner to share with them a possible solution to whether it's a product that you're selling or a solution, then they just let down their guard and they're having a conversation with you. And I can't tell you, I mean, I have friends that started off as clients of mine. You lead by being your authentic self, And people buy from you because of you, not your product or the service you're selling, because they trust you. It's just like when you go in to buy a car and you've got someone coming up and they tell you all the bells and whistles of this car already, you're like, oh my God, that's another person selling me a car. But if they come up, hey, you know, obviously no pressure, but what are you in the market looking for? You see the approach is so different, you let down your guard, you're gonna be more open to actually buying something from that person, so I would never approach it as a salesperson.
Yeah, I would say, obviously, I get approached a lot from different vendors wanting to, you know, sell things to my law firm, different services. And I would say the most successful ones to me are people that learn about my business, that don't just, you know, message me on LinkedIn and it's clearly not relevant to me, but actually just want a few minutes of my time, and they're interested in my business. They aren't immediately coming out saying, I have this product and it'll solve your problems. They don't know that yet. But I'm more than willing to give a few minutes of my time to talk to them about what it is, and they learn about me before offering anything.
And I'll say, and then I'll move to Nico and then the other two, but I would say this, I recently started my business in entrepreneurship as well, and it was different being a keynote speaker while I was working in corporate America, or being a leadership coach while I was working in corporate America. But what I realized, and the thing that Michelle said, and I just want to reiterate, is that it's about relationship. And the reason why Michelle is not only my friend, but also a business colleague and someone who I have referred, I don't even know how many people to reach out to her when somebody's looking for a candidate, is because she cares about me. The reason why I've taken John and UKG into 3 different organizations is because he cares about me. It is about the genuine relationship that you have. And when people know that you care about them, because I'm not gonna offer coaching to the senior citizen who's not working and doesn't want it, why would I be doing that? You know, the point is that you wanna offer what you have to individuals to support them on their journey and to help meet a need that they have, not because you're looking to make money. So just ensure that your approach is genuine and authentic, and that it is about building a relationship and supporting your potential customer, and the doors and the floodgates will open.
Can I make a comment?
Yes.
Why don't you tell us what your business is?
Yeah.
Because there's probably 150 people in the room that would help you know.
I think that's a great idea. Tell us your business, and then we have to move because Dara's gonna get me.
Yep.
Yes.
So I am in investment management and a financial coach, working with younger people. I don't have a minimum, so I'm not looking for $1 million clients. I'm helping those people that weren't able to get help at a bank because they didn't have a lot of money. So that's who my...
Okay, so that's your avatar, you call me. I'm gonna give you an hour of free coaching. So Dara, I would like you to have her call me, and we're gonna work through your marketing strategy in an hour so we can understand who your avatar is, what your offering is, and your approach to go to market, okay? All right. Dom Monique, AKA Middle Son, AKA Nico, otherwise known as Dom. You're on.
So, sorry. So I have a question in regards to essentially the how. So like, once you've assessed and you recognize the thing that's holding you back, because the panel is about fear, right? When you recognize that fear factor that you have that's keeping you from chasing your dreams, how do you execute? How do you get past? How do you make the decision to transform yourself? Or if you're in a relationship, or if you have a friend that you recognize is kind of harboring you, or is almost kind of soul sucking from you, right? Letitia talked about it earlier, circling yourself around a group of people that are going to have the same, are going to be goal oriented, are going to also chase after what you're trying to achieve. May not be the same exact goal, but are passion driven. How do you go about eliminating those factors out of your life if it is someone that's doing that, as I said? And how do you go about it in a way that isn't going to make you fearful of harming that person? So how do you, the how?
So I think I'm mom, so I can't answer.
Okay.
I'll tell you later, son.
So immediately about your circle, if you're having fear about having those hard conversations because you're gonna say, well, yeah, this person won't be my friend anymore, and we can't hang out, or maybe I'll cry, or maybe I'll, have some feelings that, I'm uncomfortable with. You have to put in your mind, okay, this is about to be uncomfortable. If I'm gonna push through this, I need to just come to grips with, I'm going to be unsettled, uncomfortable, I may cry, I may have feelings that I don't want to have. But if you come to grips with that and then just push through it, you will see on the other side. It may be as bad as you thought, but at least you got through it. Or it may not be as bad as you thought and you still, pushed forward anyway. But it's really, what we do is we stop ourselves at the door before we even feel those feelings, and then we just never do it because we're so fearful of what it's gonna feel like, what's it gonna say to other people when I do this. So you really just have to have a talk with yourself saying, I'm about to have some very uncomfortable feelings, but I'm gonna push through it anyway and just see what comes out on the other side.
I would say that in addition to that, not everybody works the same. So for some people, you just make the leap and you're going to be uncomfortable and you know that. Other people may need to take smaller steps towards that, put their toes in the water really. And that's okay. If you're looking at a potential career change to something that you think you've always wanted to do, I don't know, like interior design, which is something I've loved, whatever, but am I going to leave, a lucrative career as a lawyer to go become an interior designer? What could I do? There are things that I could do potentially. I could go, volunteer with a local interior designer one day a week, or just something to get your toe in. Is this really something that really is my passion that I could really do? But as opposed to just quitting my job and going back to school and trying something new.
I'm going to just say something, and then I'm going to ask, I'm going to actually ask Dean Williamson. I'm going to put him on the spot because I also did he said, she said, as she said, and men and women think differently. And I always told my kings that I cannot teach you how to be a man, but I can teach you how to treat a woman because I'm not a man. So some of the challenges that a man faces is very different from women and how we activate. But what I will say to every person, regardless of gender, is that you have to get clear on your end game. And when you are making tough decisions and you're looking at the how, you have to focus on the end game and ultimately where are you trying to be. And once you get that clarity, then the decisions around what you need to do have to align with that. So that means that, and you all know, I have these few pillars that I live by. It's peace, impact, abundance, no stress, great health, joy. Like those are the things that I actually live my life for. So when I'm making a decision, if it doesn't line up with all, not just some, all, then I don't do it. And some of those decisions means I have to opt out of certain things, certain relationships, certain jobs, certain volunteer things that I'm doing because it's disaligned with the experience that I want to have in my life. So you must get clear on what it is that you want. Then the how becomes a little bit easier because you will decision in alignment with that. But it first starts with getting clear. But I'm going to turn it over to a man I admire. I met him recently. He's so smart. He didn't know he was going to be a volunteer on the panel. This is what leadership looks like. But because Dom is a guy and there are men in the room, I do want to make sure that we hear from a male perspective as well. Put you on the spot, didn't I?
Yes. Yeah, that's okay. I'll give what I have, and hopefully that's enough. I think that, there's a lot of things that have been said today that I think already answer that question. My perspective on it is, the way you asked that question was, the end game was, this is going to be uncomfortable, it's going to be not enjoyable, it's going to be, and so you're living in the fact that that's the end game, right? But you started the question with a notion around aspiration, like you've clearly seen something better. And my mother would always say, well, once you peek behind the curtain, you can never really watch the play the same. Because your mind is always going on, what's going on behind the curtain, right? And so now that you've kind of seen something, whatever that is in that situation, that relationship, that interaction, that job, you can't actually experience the same because you're always kind of, if you're at a party, you're talking to somebody, but there's somebody else in the other room that you really want to talk to, you're kind of always just looking to the right of them, because you're looking at that person.
See, I told you men see things completely different.
At a younger stage, it's typically was me noticing another woman that I wasn't talking to. But now it's just this woman.
Clean it up now, Ian, clean it up.
At a younger stage.
All right, Brandy, I got you.
You see, you started that question with the thing that you were looking at, and now you're dealing with uncomfortableness. This isn't it, right? And so the things around it, well, what holds you back from going to that space? Well, do you know what to do? All right, well, that's fine. That's something that can be learned. And I think she gave great advice about talk to people who are doing it. And that begins to sort of provide you with the roadmap. But at some point, it's okay to acknowledge to that person in that situation, thank you very much. And I want to go do something else. If that person is genuinely committed to you, they're going to say, what is it you want to do? Maybe I can help you, or good luck. If that person is not committed to you, then they're going to try to hold on, and now it's an easy decision to make. And I think that's particularly true if I take it to the perspective of careers. I just love what you said, right? You want a person that shows up every day because they want to be here. And the moment that that's not that for them, you say, I'm so happy that I was able to get you to the part where you can now departure. And that's a wonderful thing for an employer to say to an employee. If you're a person who's sort of resentful of an individual because they're leaving you, you just make that really easy for them. Right? Because I've just given you X number of years of my life. I've committed to you to do things you told me to do. And the best I get out of this is you're resentful for the fact that I could possibly have a better idea for my life. Like, it's going to be really easy for me to leave. Or if I stay, now I got to really humble myself and be somehow less than you. So I just think you have the evidence in the room around that process. But if you've seen it already, now you're just in the game of denying that you saw it. Don't do that. That's not helpful.
And I'm also say, because I'm taking Dean Williamson, I just put him on the spot. He's my new best friend and he doesn't even know it. But what you also have to do is you have to execute on exactly what Letitia said. And sometimes we need to grab somebody's hand and have them walk us toward our journey. As leaders, we have a responsibility to walk somebody forward. And so it's important that you get a sponsor, a mentor. You might want to holler at Dean Williamson over here. But the reality of it is we need other people to help us catapult forward, especially when we are afraid. I know we had some other questions, but before we do that, I just want to thank the panelists for joining me this afternoon. I am so grateful for your time, your contribution, and really for being such a pillar in our community and leading courageously in the midst of fear. You are dynamic women. I am so proud of you, and you are women's history. Let's give them a round of applause. Okay, we're going to wrap up because time is important. It's the most valuable asset. I know we have a few more questions. We will be here after the event if you want to continue to ask questions because your voice matters. And so it is important if you have questions. The panelists will be here. I will be here. We also ask that if you enjoyed this afternoon and you feel so compelled to give a testimony, this is what I do for a living now. I am a keynote speaker. I do have the privilege of speaking internationally. And I just got offered a speaking engagement both in Europe and in Canada. So I'm super excited about that. But I say that to say that, my bad, son, forgot to tell you. But I say that to say that oftentimes we also don't get where we need to be because we don't ask for help. And so it's important that you use your voice, that you ask. I'm very proud of the individuals who are willing to exercise courage and to ask for what it is that you need because we're all struggling individually in some way, shape, or form. But we don't have to. There are individuals in this room that you could partner up with today and you could move your life forward in such a rapid rate in order to execute courage and eliminate fear. You have to understand that fear is always going to be with you. It's never going to leave you. It's sitting on your shoulders right now. But the bottom line is that, as you have heard me say this over and over and over again, let the fear have a voice.
hear it. It could be a resounding gong, but it cannot have a vote in what you do. You have to activate your life with courage, focusing on the experiences that you want for your life. It is your life. It is your choice. If you have made a decision that you want to live your life with a level of abundance and joy and peace, that you want to have happiness, that you want to create impact, that you want to be in the front or the back, whatever the decision is, do not let fear stop you from moving in alignment with what you want. And for you sitting over there, I'm not going to say anything to you that's thinking you're not going to be in a relationship. You're liable to get in one over the next month, because I'm going to help a sister out. But the reality of it is, don't let hurt prohibit you from experience unlimited joy. We get hurt. People make mistakes. They're doing the best that they can. Nothing has taken you out, even though you use those words and you're sitting here anyway. It did not take you out. It did not knock you down. It was just a small little stumbling block on your way to the ascent. So continue in your journey and do not allow that fear to grip and cripple you from getting to where it is that you want to be. Get a mentor, get a sponsor, give somebody permission to tell you the truth about yourself, make a commitment that you are going to do it afraid, and speak life into your own situation. Make sure that your self-talk is positive. Watch the tribe and the people that are around you. Don't allow yourself to receive too much negativity. Everybody knows they got 3 minutes with me. Literally, it's 3 minutes. I mean, they crack a joke. Oh, I'm a minute 59. Because that negativity, it'll rob your soul, your mind, your thoughts, your emotions. Unable to sleep, stomach hurting, all upset. Unnecessary. Do not give time to that which is not going to yield you a high return. Make your investments wisely. Now remember, investments go up and down. We play the market, but the long-term effect is always a high gain. So invest in yourself and make sure that you do not do it alone. It's important. Make a friend before you leave here today. Ask somebody to walk you through. Find somebody that you can trust and make a commitment to yourself that you are going to lead a life of courage. I'm asking you to do that. Pay attention to what you wrote in your book. And I would love to hear from you on how you made the decision today, this day, at a Leadership in Heels event, to live a life of courage. Now we have a raffle. And in the raffle, you get an hour of coaching with me, but you get yours for free. This person does too. And you're going to get a goodie bag of Leadership in Heels items. And they're so good. I can't believe you guys did it. Who does this? And this gift bag is going to, what is that gift bag of? Everything's in the gift bag. Wow. So you get a Leadership in Heels t-shirt, hat, mask, pen, book, and an hour of free coaching. And this is going to Nicole Michaelis. Hi, Nicole. I'm so excited about today. How was your experience? I hope that it was worth your time this afternoon. Thank you so much. We had so many scripted things that we wanted to say and none of them were said. But I just want to thank you guys so much for joining us this afternoon. It has been an absolute pleasure. On your table, there's a little folded card that says connect with us and take a survey. Use your phone, click the QR code if you have time, and please fill out the survey. We do this for you. We want you to be here, and tell a friend. This is about changing our life to be better leaders, not just at work, but at home and in our communities, and gaining the tools that we need so that we can be high-performing leaders. Thank you so much, Dee, for Letitia and Michelle for being our panelists this morning. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much to all of the partners that are here. And John, UKG, from the bottom of my heart, there's absolutely no way that I would have been able to do this without the support and the annual sponsorship of UKG. So thank you so much. I am so grateful. Remember, we have another event coming up on July 13th. We touched on it. Multi-generational leadership. We all need that, right? We need to know how we are going to be leading with this generation of new leaders. It's different. We have to be prepared, and we're going to have leaders at different ages and stages of their life, walking us through what they need from us and how we can show it better as a leader. I also just want to remind you, if you've taken some pictures, please tag us, follow us, and stay connected to me. If there is a way that I can support you personally or professionally, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. Be patient with me, but send me an email or connect with me on LinkedIn. You can connect with me on my website, or you can send me a message through social media. But know that I am here to service you. I'm here to support you, to help you accomplish your goals and objectives, to move that fear into courage, transition that insecurity into confidence, and become the highest performing leader that you can. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon. Please leave a testimony in the back. I think Trina's probably reached out to some people to meet us in the back, but we would love to hear from you and hear about your Leadership in Heroes experience. So without further ado, I will say thank you for joining us this afternoon.